Now, on the line this morning, I have Sarah Warde. She's author of Fatigue and a spokesperson for the Irish ME Trust. So, good morning to you. How are you? How are you, Sarah?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. No, can't complain. No one will listen anyway to me. But anyway, that's
I know.
So, Irish ME patients hope HSE will follow UK scrap exercise therapy guidance. Will you talk our listeners through this?
Yeah, it's basically what the story is in the UK. They have scrapped the guidelines, which was around graded exercise therapy. The thing with graded exercise therapy is it worsens symptoms for people with ME and chronic fatigue syndrome. There's a thing called PEM, which is post-exertion malaise, and that kicks in when people with ME do exercise, and basically what it means is the more you do, the worse you get.
Yeah.
So it's not recommended. It's detrimental to patients with ME to do graded exercise therapy because it just makes them very ill.
So isn't ME anyway? Isn't it causes fatigue and tiredness and all that kind of thing?
It is. It's chronic fatigue. It's a neurological condition. And it affects your neurological system, and it also affects your energy levels, and it causes extreme fatigue. And it's not like you're tired or anything. It's basically more extreme than that. It would affect things like your concentration. It would cause things like dizziness. You could have migraines. You basically can't function. Some people can't even wash their hair. Some people end up in wheelchairs. It's quite a serious condition.
It is, yeah, according to that, yeah. I don't know much about it now, quite honest with you.
Yeah.
And hopefully it keeps away from me. But anyway.
Well, I've had personal experience with the graded exercise therapy program. When I got ME before, it was back in 2001, and I was perfect 2 days before. I was in a pool swimming 50 lengths and walked out of it, not a puff. And then I got this, what they called a mysterious virus. And they put me on antibiotics and steroids and stuff and said, go home and take 2 weeks off. So I did. And then I went back to work after that. And I'd been coughing all the time, right? Bit of a tickle in my throat and stuff, and didn't know what it was, and thought, sure, listen, I've done everything I can. I must go back to work. But the minute I went back to work, I had escalated my activities, and it got worse, and it went into cough. And what happened was I collapsed at work with broken ribs and was carried into A&E. Now, they treated me for pneumonia and asthma, which I'd never had before, and basically told me to rest up. So I did and about 5 months later, I thought, right, okay, I think I'm okay now. I go back to the doctor and ask him, can I go back to work? And I'd lined up this small job. I said, I'm sure to God I can do this. So he said, grand. He said, but I want you to do something first. So I want you to go on a treadmill for 20 minutes and 2 days later repeat it, and 2 days later repeat it again, and then come back to me, and if you can say you're able to go back to work, I'll sign you off. So I did. I thought, great, I can do that. So I went to the treadmill, did the 20 minutes, fine, walked out the door, happy out. Came back 2 days later, different story completely. The post-exertion malaise had set in, and I could do nothing. I couldn't do anything. I was gutted. My body felt like I'm 9 stone, and I don't have any weight on me. I've always been very fit before this, and basically I couldn't move. I felt like I was 20 stone. My legs wouldn't move. They felt like lead. And basically I had to get off the treadmill after a couple of minutes. I felt dizzy and everything, and I was going, what the hell is going on here? So I went home, and the following day I went to the doctor. I felt really bad, sore throat, everything. And he said, go into A&E again. He put me into this, there's a special unit in there. You go in there. So I went in there. They put me on antibiotics. This following day I knew I was in trouble then. I went back into him and said, listen, you need to ring the doctor that treated me 6 months ago. But they put me on a stronger antibiotic, and basically the third day I came back in, I collapsed on the floor. They hooked me up to an IV and treated me for full-blown pneumonia in both lungs.
Yeah.
The immune system wasn't able for the extra exercise, and basically what happened was the immune system crashed, and I overdid it, and basically the throat came and went from the throat into the chest and into the lungs, and I ended up completely kiboshed. And that's what's happening with people. That's my experience with other people with ME who overdo it. And it's not doing very much. They basically feel very, very unwell afterwards.
Yeah. And is it a disease that stays with you for life, or what's the outcomes?
Yeah, I basically, I've had it for 20 years now, and it's a case of, if you get in there fast, that's why I wrote the book. If you can learn to manage it from the get-go, you have a better chance of getting recovery. Now, I'm not saying you will, but you have a better chance. I kind of, through ignorance, I guess, I kind of pushed it and tried to get back and overdid it and ended up, and I kept, trying to get back and stuff. And really, that's not the way. You have to be taught how to manage it. That's why it's very important that with COVID and long COVID, that people are taught how to manage the fatigue so that they can do the right thing from the get-go, right? And they're taught how to manage it. And that's why, like, the Irish ME Trust are fabulous. They give Zoom calls every week, and they give advice on how to manage ME, CFS, and they give guidance. And like later on today, they'll do chair yoga, which is a very gentle movement, and it basically, you do it at your own pace. So you're in charge of what you do, and right, I can't do that. I'm not doing that. I'm not, so what you're going to, but you're still getting in movement, because movement is very important.
Of course it is,
You have to get the movement in the body, and do gentle work,
Yeah, so you have to know your limits, like, and then
you
kind of opt out.
Absolutely. You have to know your limits. You have to listen to your body so that right, okay, this isn't working. I need to stop. I need to sit down. I need to, and you need to, like, what I learned over the years, like I have a specialist now, Dr. Mary Ryan, who guides me over the years, and she'd tell me, like, she said to me at one stage, she said, whatever you want to do, have it and have it again. And then start from there. And also, I'm a fierce, back in the day, I could talk for Ireland. I was always in customer service or sales or whatever. So I talk. And she said, just sit down, she says, when you arrive somewhere, she says, and let people come to you, and then do a bit of talking, but don't work the room, like, you wear yourself out, and it is, it's our nature. We're go-getters, and basically what the story is the more you do, even talking, the worse you feel, and you burn up that valuable energy, those units of energy.
Yeah. Well, will you tell our listeners a bit about this book that you wrote there, Fatigue?
Well, yeah, in the journal, is it? They talk about the guided exercise therapy, which I've just gone through. So I'll talk a bit more about the CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy. They were saying that, like in England now, they've scrapped that. They're saying it's not a cure, which it's not, right? You can't. This is a neurological condition, so it's not a cure, and that's great. But we want the same in Ireland. We want to be taught. We want to, like, you need to be taught how to manage this condition and how to overcome. Say, for example, I found it very difficult to just do 5 minutes of a walk. Right, and some days I could only do 1 minute of a walk. It depends on your energy level, and I found that very difficult to accept. And what you need to be taught is how to accept it and how to adjust to this new you, basically. So basically, you do need some form of therapy where you're kind of guided through it and taught how to manage the condition. It's like a support measure. Rather, it's not a cure, for sure. So we need to get that across to the Irish government, and they need to put it into the guidelines. You have to know that you have serious limitations, and you have to learn to adjust to them, because if you keep pushing through them, you're going to do yourself more harm than good.
So you have to be sensible about it.
You have to be sensible about it for your own protection, right? And it's very difficult because you've major adjustments to do, and you do lose out on a lot of activities and stuff. You have to say no to a lot of things, and you can't do different things, that you really want to do. So, I mean, it's difficult. It is a difficult adjustment. But once you get to the stage where you manage it properly and you pace, it's all about pacing, right? You have to pace, and you have to listen to your body, and you have to know that you don't use up all your units in a day. Like, say if you have 10 units in a day of energy, say, for example, you don't use up all 10. You do a bit, like, say you use up 7. Right, so you don't go to your total exhaustion of the day, because you're going to feel terrible the next day. So if you're there and you want to do something, half it and half it again, and say, right, I'll go to this thing I'll go and meet a friend for a cup of coffee for half an hour, and then I'll come home and I'll rest I'll do some meditation or relax for half an hour or an hour, whatever it is you need. But you need to listen to your body, and you need to rest.
Of course, no use burning yourself out, doing all in the morning and have no energy for the evening time.
Well, no, and you do need a rest. Like, I go for a rest now every day, and depending on what I do in the morning time, I wouldn't do a whole lot now. But if in the morning time I had to go and do something, like, say, go to a doctor's appointment or something, when I'm exerting more energy, I come home and I could sleep for 4 hours. Like, it's staying awake is my problem. I burn out, and I literally, my body will slow down so much that I can't speak properly. I start stuttering, and I start mixing up words. And even if you met me, you might even accuse me of drinking, and I don't drink at all, because I mix up my sentences. They get completely upside down, and I end up saying to myself, right, time to shut up now, because your sentences are the fatigue is setting in, the warning signs. There's always warning signs, and my speech is one warning sign. My volume of my voice is another warning sign. If it's deeper in the morning, I know I have to take it easy. And another warning sign is if I'm going up the stairs and I'm finding it difficult to get up the stairs, my legs are like lead, I know, right, today's going to be an extremely gentle day. So you got to listen to the body and notice the warning signs. It's very important.
So you have to know your limits, and you have to know what to do, and like that rest in the afternoon or whenever it is like recharging your batteries.
That's it exactly. We're like a bunch with a bad battery. We're only half charged all the time. So when you use up that battery, you got to recharge it. It's like a bad battery in an iPhone. You got to keep recharging it through the day. Some days you'll recharge it 4 times, other times you'll recharge it once. But you need to recharge it, and just even just rob 20 minutes and go for a nap, or do meditation for 20 minutes. Very powerful meditation. It gets your body and it relaxes your blood pressure, it relaxes your vagus nerve, it relaxes your heartbeat, and your body then can go into a very deep relaxation where it actually replenishes a little bit of energy and tops up that battery a little bit.
Yeah, well, you have given me a great description.
Thank you.
It's a great description of the whole lot. Yeah, but you wrote a book anyway. Just to get 2 minutes before we let you go. I
did, and it's available on Amazon in Kindle and in book form. And basically, the reason I wrote this is because I made a lot of mistakes. I got this 20 years ago, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned an awful lot. And I set up a kind of a group here in Limerick. About 10, 11 years ago, and we're now online because of the fact of COVID, but I learned a lot of managing this, and through my own experiences. So I wrote a book called Fatigue, and it's on Amazon, and if you look up Fatigue, Sarah Warde, and it's Warde, you'll see my face on the front of it, and basically it's brimful of helpful information and advice on how not just how to manage it and manage the illness, but how to improve your quality of life significantly. And it proves that if you manage it properly, you can do a little bit more. Your days are a little bit clearer because the fatigue will give you brain fog, right? And you can't think because you're too tired to even think. It's like if you got off a flight back in the day when I could travel. I come back from Vancouver and I'd be 36 hours flying and be in airports, and I come back and I could, you'd be functioning, but you wouldn't be functioning on a good level. You'd be putting something in the fridge that you shouldn't be putting in the fridge, or you'd be, saying something crazy that basically doesn't make any sense. And that's the way we are. We basically, the cognitive skills diminish, and the understanding of what people say, you'd have to ask them to repeat it, and then the comprehension just goes completely, where you're going, nothing else can get into my head. I can't listen, talk to me tomorrow, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Basically...
Go on, Sarah.
Yeah, basically that's why I wrote the book, to help people to get advice from the get-go. Like people with long COVID now would benefit hugely from the book. And people even have read this book that have, even need to pace their lives a little bit better and get a balance between their lives and work, social life and work. So they balance their home and work life and get a better quality of life and learn how to just slow down a little bit. And you'll benefit far more. You'd benefit far more. Your quality of life would be better. Your family life would be better. Everything improves.
Okay, Sarah, we leave it at that for today. Thanks for coming on the show there today with me, and a pleasure to talk to you. And you give me a massive description of the whole ME thing.
Oh, super. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Mind yourself.